Have you ever wondered if a strong mind is truly built on positive thoughts? What if I told you that resilience isn't just about thinking happy thoughts? I'm Dr. Tracey Marks, a psychiatrist, and I help you strengthen your mind and fortify your brain to build resilience. When you're dealing with challenges or feel stuck on the struggle bus, you've probably gotten the advice.
Think positive.
Or
Look on the bright side.
And while there's value in optimism, the relationship between our thoughts and mental resilience is more complex than simply being positive all the time. Firstly, let's clarify what I mean by mind and brain. The mind refers to our conscious thoughts, emotions, and experiences. The brain, on the other hand, is the physical organ that houses the mind. They're distinct concepts but deeply interconnected. Our thoughts can literally change the structure of and function of our brain through a process called neuroplasticity. And this is the brain's ability to form new neural connections and reorganize throughout our lives. When we repeatedly think or behave in certain ways, we strengthen specific neural pathways, making those thoughts or behaviors more likely to happen in the future. Another way to think of it is you can get ahead of yourself and program your mind to have certain thoughts by repeatedly giving your attention to these thoughts. And this is whether those thoughts are negative or positive. Over time, the thoughts become automatic and surface in your mind without you needing to conjure them up. It's like a script that replays, and we all have many scripts that apply to various situations. And when we face new situations, we write new scripts that get filed away. But what you write in the new script is influenced by your old scripts, which are influenced by your temperament, upbringing, and other life experiences. These scripts, both old and new, are not forged by the Dark Lord and only revealed by fire. They're written in your brain with semi-permanent erasable marker that can be changed. So how do our thoughts influence our resilience? Resilience is our ability to adapt and bounce back from adversity. It's not about avoiding stress or negative emotions, but rather about how we handle them. Negative thoughts aren't always bad. They can alert us to potential threats and motivate us to make changes. The key is in how we process and respond to these thoughts. Let's look at the stress response and emotion regulation. Our thoughts significantly influence our stress response. First, we perceive a situation as threatening, and this could be an upcoming work presentation, a near-miss car accident, or someone being mean to us. Then, your body initiates a complex physiological reaction involving several hormones. Think of your body's stress response as an emergency management system. Just as a city has firefighters, paramedics, and police officers ready to spring into action during a crisis, your body has special hormones on standby. Catecholamines, which are primarily adrenaline and noradrenaline, or epinephrine and norepinephrine, are like the first responders. When your brain signals a threat, these hormones leap into action, much like how emergency services respond to a 911 call. They quickly prepare your body to either face the challenge head on or escape from danger by increasing your heart rate, boosting your energy, and sharpening your focus. Cortisol is often called the stress hormone, but it's just one player in this response. It's like the incident commander. It arrives on the scene a little bit later after the adrenaline first responders. Then cortisol mobilizes energy resources and regulates the immune system. Other hormones also play supporting roles in this complex system. For instance, thyroid hormone can be reduced under stress, and sex hormones like estrogen and testosterone can also be impacted, often decreasing during prolonged stress, which is why chronic stress can sometimes have effects on your reproductive functions, like having irregular periods or a low sex drive. So here's the point. I'm talking about stress and emotion regulation. The complex hormonal cascade demonstrates the powerful impact our thoughts have on our physical state. Chronic activation of this stress response can lead to various health issues and reduce our resilience. But thank God the brain is adaptable, because by changing how we think in stress situations, we can change our physiological response. And this is where cognitive reappraisal comes in. Cognitive reappraisal is the ability to reframe a situation in a more positive or neutral light. This reframing helps dial down the stress response and reduces its effects on our physical and mental well being. By learning to regulate your stress response through stress management techniques, you can protect your mental and physical health in the long term. I plan to dive deeper into the topic of stress hormones and their effects in my upcoming series on stress and emotion regulation. For now, I just want you to appreciate the intricate interplay between our thoughts and our body's stress response system. Now, getting back to how our thoughts influence our resilience, we all have patterns of thinking that shape how we view ourselves and view the world. Some common negative thinking patterns include catastrophizing, which is imagining the worst possible outcome, or all or nothing thinking, where you see things in extremes like either total success or complete failure. These kinds of thoughts can make it hard to cope with challenges because they trap you in a box. Resilience is about breaking out of that box and creating space for new perspectives. You're not just sticking a positive thought onto a negative one, you're actively working to reshape how you think. One effective way to do this is through cognitive restructuring. Cognitive restructuring is a technique that helps you identify unhelpful thoughts and replaces them with more balanced, realistic ones. By consistently challenging your negative thought patterns, you're essentially rewiring your brain to become more adaptable. And this is where neuroplasticity works in your favor. Each time you practice reframing a negative thought, you strengthen neural pathways that support a more resilient mindset. And this is how therapy helps you. And you can do this on your own as well. So, how can you start building a more resilient mind? Here are a few cognitive techniques that you can use. First, there's mindfulness. Mindfulness is about staying present with your thoughts and feelings without judging them. When you practice mindfulness, you learn to recognize negative thoughts as they arise, which gives you a chance to address them before they spiral out of control. This awareness is the first step toward creating a flexible mindset. Then there's cognitive reframing. This technique involves identifying an unhelpful thought and then reframing it into a more balanced way of thinking. For example, instead of thinking, I always mess up, you might reframe the thought as, I made a mistake this time, but I can learn from it. But what if it's the 20th time that you've made a mistake? Isn't that proof that you always mess things up? No. Always is what we call absolute language. It doesn't leave room for exceptions or nuances. Absolute language contributes to distorted thinking. You may have made this similar mistake 20 times, but think of all the other decisions you make in a day. Researchers at Cornell University estimate that we make 226.7 decisions each day on food alone. Your mind is busy with thousands of thoughts, many of which are unconscious, meaning they're beyond your awareness and operating on autopilot. So 20 or 30 bad decisions doesn't make you a permanent screw up. You can change patterns of negative thoughts and behavior at the brain wiring level. Another important aspect of strengthening your mind is self-compassion. Self-compassion is treating yourself with the same kindness you would offer a friend who's struggling. We can be very judgmental and mean to ourselves. In fact, people with sharp tongues who are very critical and demeaning of other people are revealing how they treat themselves. The language you use on the outside is the same language being used on the inside of your head. It's hard to treat others kindly when you're self-critical. Some people who do this may say,
Dr. Marks, you don't know what you're talking about. I love myself, you're the idiot.
My response is, if you really love yourself and have solid self-appraisal, you don't need to assault people with insults because you don't need to siphon energy from people by tearing them down. It's like being in a video game where you're getting health points when you destroy the enemy. Instead, you get your health points or mental fortitude from within by pruning away negative self-talk and building yourself up with compassion that you extend to yourself. You can see this self-critical concept demonstrated in the example that I used of a person saying, I always mess things up. That's only one thought. Thoughts with that kind of negative valence are usually followed by other self-judgments that keep you trapped in negative thinking. Let's put these ideas into action with a simple exercise called stop, reflect, and reframe. The next time you notice a negative thought, try this. Stop, Pause a moment and recognize that you're having a negative thought. Then reflect. Ask yourself, is this thought helpful? Is it accurate? Am I jumping to conclusions or catastrophizing? And then reframe. Challenge the thought and replace it with a more balanced one. For example, if you think, I'll never be able to handle this, try reframing it as, this is challenging, and I've handled difficult things before, and I can figure out a way through this. This is a simple exercise that you can do anytime, and by practicing this exercise regularly, you train your brain to shift away from rigid negative thinking and move toward more flexible, resilient thinking patterns. So back to the original question, is a strong mind really driven by positive thoughts? Not exactly. A strong mind is about resilience, building mental flexibility and adaptability through the mind-brain connection. Positive thinking can be part of this, but it's not the whole story. True resilience comes from understanding your thoughts, challenging negative thought patterns, and using techniques like mindfulness, cognitive reframing, and self-compassion to rewire your brain. I encourage you to try the stop, reflect, and reframe exercise this week. The next time you catch yourself in a negative thought spiral, pause and see if you can challenge it or reshape the thought. If you found this video helpful, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on more insights into the mind-brain connection and building resilience. Thanks for watching today. I'll see you in the next video.